Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. It's actually Tuesday evening. We're way ahead of the game over at genespage.com today. Already got double-digit stories up for you to read, many of them free. Some of them require a membership. You should be a member at genespage.com, the Mississippi State affiliate for 247 Sports, the longest-running, largest, most successful, and sexiest Mississippi State site of all time. Come join our merry band of maroon misfits. But getting an early start on the midweek Boneyard. Many of you will listen to this Wednesday morning. Again, we're working ahead. Yeah, when you got a good team, and you got plenty of content, you can get things done. So we're working ahead, and I didn't have much going on. And I said, well, I could go watch Netflix, or I could go ahead and get a head start on the show. We want to take this time to remind you that there is an open baseball scrimmage this weekend. And we haven't had a chance to see the team since they broke for the holidays. But this Saturday, February 7th, gates won't open until after basketball is done. So around from 2-ish to 5, you're going to have open scrimmage and autograph sessions, all the good stuff to kind of get you ready for next weekend. So your first look at the 2026 Diamond Dawgs this Saturday at Duty Noble Field. Admission is free. Come out, be a part of it. Come double dip, right? Come watch the basketball game. Head over to the Dude. Like all of you, I'm ready for some baseball. We're going to have an extended first segment kind of talking about baseball, about one of the reasons we have such confidence in this team. And there's some things we got to work through, obviously. But we're certainly in a better position now. I mean, the exuberance within the fan base for baseball is, again, probably the highest it's been in a few years. I think that's fair to say. And every time I turn around, people are like, dude, are you ready for baseball? Dude, I was ready for baseball the day we left Tallahassee. I didn't even get out of the parking lot good, and then we're releasing the story that Brian O'Connor has been hired. Wasn't a big secret at that point, but the reality of it is that last week wasn't quite as quiet as some people might think. Virginia tried very hard to keep him. Texas A&M essentially offered him a blank check. He turned him down. They decided to stick with Mike for another year. And we'll see how things go for them. But, there's a reason to be excited about Mississippi State baseball. The coaches poll came out today. Your Bulldogs ranked number 6, which is the lowest ranking among the polls. But, hey, when you're number 6, you can't complain about that. We're a consensus top 5 team. And we're a team that's projected to be a top 8 national seed. Got to go get the work done. As you guys are well aware, we had Baseball Media Day on Monday, and all that content will be up. I guess the last little bit of it will be up Wednesday morning. So you'll have an opportunity to go back and look at it. We had Brian O'Connor and 8 players. Spoke about that on Monday's show. But the reality of it is a lot of baseball content coming your way. You know, we attend every game. Home, away, midweek, weekend, postseason, whatever. We go to everything. We love being your eyes and ears. We go to every football game too. You know, maybe at some point we'll go to every basketball game, but that's down the road. We got to play better before we allocate resources for that. But good, bad, or indifferent, we're going to be there for Bulldog Baseball. I want to thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. We love Bulldog Burger Company. We have for a long, long time. As long as they have been around, we have been raving fans of that institution. Obviously, they're a big part of the Eat With Us group that has always been there for us. And I think sometimes we take some of that for granted, right? You look back and you think about some of your favorite moments in Starkville. Chances are you had dinner at some point or lunch at an eatwithus.com restaurant. If you're looking to maybe make life easier on perhaps a Mississippi State faculty member or more than likely a Bulldog student, get them at eatwithus.com gift card. Just head to eatwithus.com. You can get one specifically for Bulldog Burger Company or one that's accepted at all Eat With Us restaurants. I love that place, man. I love Bulldog Burger Company. I love Harvey's. I love the grill. And it's one of those things, too, when I think about when my family has been asked to choose, I would say 99 times out of 100, they pick an Eat With Us restaurant. And with good reason, right? I know when I go in there, I'm going to get quality service I'm going to get great food at a great price, and I don't have to worry about anything. So go put your feet under the table at Bulldog Burger Company. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer that make you and everybody around you better looking. Find your own favorites on that menu. If you're feeling like a burger, you can't go wrong with the Bulldog Burger, the signature burger. If everybody else is wanting burgers and you want to change it up a little bit, well, you can. Yeah. Maybe get that BLT salad. I prefer it grilled. You may like it fried. That's how I've maintained, my girlish figure all these years, those grilled salads. But no matter what you do, get that chocolate shake to go, and you could ride that ride home with a smile. 3 great locations to serve you. University Drive here in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowood area. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. Okay. Had some friends of mine that I'm in a group text with that big followers of college baseball, and there's a lot of fans in there that, I say a lot, it's a handful of fans in there that are fans of other teams. I just get added to that, and we discuss college baseball. And somebody asked me, it's like, Steve, hey, Mississippi State's ranked really high. I said, yeah, it's true. And he goes, well, you guys are really good in the portal. Do you think it's going to be the portal guys that kind of carry you? My answer to that question is no. And the truth of the matter is, even if we hadn't had a great portal class, if we had just had a good portal class, we would probably still be a consensus top 15 team and a team expected to host. But let's go back and kind of look at some of these returning players. I think that's one of those things that you have to go back and look. You got a nucleus of players. It's not like that you brought in, 25 players, you're rebuilding a roster, that it's basically a junior college type format, right? Some teams elect to do that. Georgia's a team that's very, very portal heavy. Kentucky's another one of those teams. LSU, many respects. But if you go back and look like the LSU teams that have won the recent national championships, they're teams that had a great nucleus and they supplemented out of the portal. That's kind of the model that we're in right now. So let's kind of take a look back. And maybe you don't realize this. Mississippi State will return 5 of its top hitters from the 2025 lineup. 5. So basically, over half of your starting 9 from an offensive standpoint is back. If that's the only building blocks that you had, you'd feel pretty good about this team. And so let's kind of break it down. Ace Reese, obviously, All-American Ace Reese, hit .352 last year to lead the team, had 21 dingers and 66 RBI. Strikeout to walk ratio was 2-1. We got to get the strikeouts down a little bit. We had some moments where things didn't go as well, but people forget Ace fouled the ball off his foot against Texas and then played with that ailment the rest of the year. He told us on Monday he's 100% ready to go. They were careful with him in the fall as they should have been. There's not a lot that Ace needs to prove. But when you begin to think about the numbers that he put up last year, and he wasn't 100%, he doesn't have blazing speed. He's got good speed, and had a triple last year, but just 1 stolen base. I'm not saying we need Ace to go out there and swipe 20 bags, but you should see a more polished Ace Reese this year, a healthier Ace Reese this year. Makes Mississippi State an even more formidable team. And then there's Noah Sullivan. Guys, he had .345 last year and started 59 games. Ace missed a couple. He was banged up with that foot ailment. But Noah played all 59 games, hit .345, 15 jacks, 46 ribbies. Strikeout to walk ratio a little bit better than Ace, 42 Ks against 35 walks. And State didn't have a player last year of the regulars that had more walks and strikeouts. When we went out and recruited players for the portal, that's one of the things we kind of prioritized. Guys with better strikeout rates. And Noah had some big moments last year too where, he didn't come through. Other times he did. But thinking about the fact that what a jump to the SEC. And this guy hit .345. 203 at-bats. And he had 70 hits. That dog will hunt, right? Garrick Fry, who played in 50 games, started 33. Down the stretch, we just kind of made it work. we put him out at left field against Alabama and just said, go be an athlete. And he made some plays out there to kind of surprise some people. But at times, it was a bit of an adventure. As Brian O'Connor said earlier this week, they've worked him a lot at second base. Now, we tried that some last year, and it was a bit of an adventure. But you're taking a guy that played third, and you're putting him somewhere else without a lot of reps. Well, he's had the benefit of having reps in the fall and the spring. Like Noah Sullivan, Garrick Fry hit .345 last year. Now, he had 58 less at-bats, but he still had 50 hits. He also had 8 tanks and 17 ribby. And you start thinking about that aspect. We hit him a lot at the top of the order because he was a switch hitter and a guy that's got decent speed. 2 of 3 in stolen base attempts. But a guy that doesn't strike out a whole lot. 21 strikeouts, 8 walks. We'd like to get the walks up a little bit. But Garrick's a very aggressive guy that has a hit-first mentality. He's not a guy that's up there just to work counts. But again, another interesting piece. Does he factor in some at second? Does he DH when Noah plays first? Yeah, we'll see. Bryce Chance, we've talked about him extensively on Monday's show. He had .332, which was 4th on the team. He had 69 hits, which was 3rd on the team, behind just Noah Sullivan and Ace Reese. Bryce 14 doubles last year, and then 4 tanks, 43 ribby. If we get that same kind of year out of Bryce, we're going to be, I think, happy with the results. He was 10 of 11 in stolen bases last year, too. I'd like to go back and look at that one. If I remember correctly, the one he got thrown out on was just one, I can't remember. It was something kind of freaky about the play. The number 5 hitter on your team from a year ago was Gad Sanders. And Gad's a guy, too, that didn't really get into the lineup until we had the Sawyer Reeves situation, right? And then Dylan Cupp kind of got the yips. We moved Sawyer to short. Things kind of settled. Gat just kind of held down second base. He hit .317 last year. And he's a bit of a punch-and-Judy hitter, right? I mean, you're not going to expect Gat to go up there and hit tanks. Played in 47 games, started 42, all at second base. Drove in 23 runs. And a guy that's got a little bit of juice, can run a little bit, more quick than fast. But you take that strong nucleus and you begin to think, okay, I can build around these guys. I can absolutely look at these guys and say, you know what? Even if I didn't return anything else, the top half of my order is pretty much set. I feel really good about that group. I think that's fair. And then as we mentioned, on Monday's show, Brian O'Connor really singled out Reed Stallman as a guy due to his versatility and a guy that can do some interesting things. Now, Reed is a guy, to be honest with you, I thought Reed would transfer. I didn't think he'd come back without some assurance of a starting position. And I don't know that he's got one now, but he is a guy that can play some first and play corner infield. He had .265 last year, but he had 11 tanks, 34 ribbies. Strikeouts 42, walks 15. We got to get those strikeout numbers down, and you got to think that's 42 Ks and 117 at bats. That's way too many. And maybe O'Connor and his staff can kind of get him turned around a little bit. But that he is an interesting piece that can kind of make some things happen. Kind of looked this up earlier today because it was a topic of conversation. Dylan Cupp was the closest to having more walks and strikeouts. Dylan Cupp was 21 walks and 22 strikeouts. I don't know what happened with Dylan, because we signed him as an elite defender, and just some things just weren't quite right with him. And love the kid, man. Wish him the best at Dallas Baptist. Wish things would have worked out better. But that was a big decision because Sawyer Reeves obviously had struggled at second, and Dylan Cupp began to struggle at second. But things kind of settled for us in the middle infield when Gat Sanders took over at second. Now, Gat's a guy, too, that can factor in some at short. He's worked a lot at short in the spring. So a really good nucleus of offensive players kind of coming back. And again, Stallman kind of a sometime starter and a guy that can swing a big bat from the left side. And so you begin to kind of work through that aspect of it. You kind of begin to realize even if we didn't have a great portal class, we'd still be a pretty good team. But we did have a great portal class, which gives us the potential to be a great team. Now, let's look at some pitching numbers here. Obviously, Pico's gone. And we wish Pico the best. Maybe you've heard Mississippi State's own Charles Cross of the Seattle Seahawks playing in the Super Bowl. How about that? Another Bulldog possibly getting a ring here. Super Bowl is here, and that's where MyBookie helps you turn bets into bankroll. Everybody's watching the game. Everybody's got a take. Everybody's got a 7-layer dip recipe. And this is the one game where props matter just as much as the final score. That's why so many people use MyBookie. Their Super Bowl prop board is deep and fun to play. It's the same reason they get talked about on Jimmy Kimmel Live every year when this game rolls around. If there was ever time to get in, it's now. One account, one wallet, bet the spread, live bet the second half, hit the casino during commercials. It all lives in one place. Go to mybookie.ag now and use promo code BONEYARD and get your first bet covered up to $500. That's right. If it doesn't hit, use your bet back bonus token and run it back. Don't just watch the big game, make it pay with MyBookie. This episode is brought to you by Kalshi, the largest prediction market in the United States. Kalshi allows users to trade event contracts peer-to-peer rather than playing against a sports book. It's available across the country, including California and Texas. Download the Kalshi app and use code SB60 to get $10 when you trade $10. Make a trade, make things happen, have fun. You have so many things you can predict. It's very, very simple. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the country, if we've talked about, and you can trade on whether things will or won't happen. Will a certain coach get fired? Will they be retained? Well, you can get some skin in the game. Forget against playing against the house. Kalshi is peer-to-peer trading, and basically, to break it down, is you buy a yes contract. If you think an event like the Seahawks may win the Super Bowl, right? Will Shinedown release a new album in 2027? Will P. Diddy get pardoned? You get a no contract if you think those things won't happen. So it's really kind of pass-fail. You're trading with other users similar to buying or selling a stock, and you can jump in or out of your position at any time to lock in a profit or cut your losses. You get a chance to maximize your potential payout with combos, multiplying your winnings by correctly predicting multiple events across different areas. Users have to deposit $10 on a trade, and then you're rewarded $10. Download the Kalshi app and be ready to roll. Simple as that. Get some skin in the game today with Kalshi. Yes, and Pico kind of had some tough luck at times last year, but 114 punch-outs. That's good stuff. 114 punch-outs and 34 at-bats. Batting average against was 227. Wish that was a little bit lower, but there was a stretch there, I guess, until we went to Houston last year. He was putting up scoreless frame after scoreless frame. And again, kind of had some tough luck. Again, we should have pulled him at Auburn. We should have. Might have been a different story. Charlie Foster, I want to talk about him extensively here. Now, if Charlie Foster had been ready last year, Charlie might have been your Sunday guy. I think he is in position to be your Sunday guy this year. Now, William Kirk is a guy, too, that transferred in from Virginia, and had Kirk been healthy last year, Kirk would have been the Sunday guy at Virginia. He's still not quite 100%. He kind of had a freak injury last year, had the ACL tear, so he's still not quite 100% back. I think he may be like maybe your regular midweek guy for a while. But I want to go through this Charlie Foster stuff. You remember, I bragged on the kid and bragged on the kid and bragged on the kid, and he went down to Southern Miss, and he kind of had a meltdown on the mound. He bounced back from that. But it took a little while to kind of get him going again. And again, some of that, too, is because of the fact that he wasn't healthy. But, Charlie works the one inning against Manhattan, gets a couple punch-outs, 19 pitches. We go to Southern Miss, and he had that really, really bad inning. Things just kind of got away from him. That was kind of his welcome to the college baseball moment, as he said. He comes back that weekend. And that's what you got to do. You got to get him back on the horse. He goes 2 2/3 of an inning, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, 46 pitches thrown. Against Texas, he gives up a hit and a run, has the 1 strikeout, just 14 pitches there. And then we go to Missouri. He didn't pitch for 2 months, kind of working back from an injury. But when you look at the numbers for these last 3 outings, there's some things to be excited about, and maybe in that Florida State game a little bit to be concerned about. Go to Missouri, not a great offensive team, obviously, but he strikes out the side in 24 pitches. Against Texas A&M, he goes 10-pitch inning, 2 strikeouts. You think he got him back on track, right? And then you go to Florida State, he goes 2 1/3, doesn't allow a hit or a run, but he walks 3 and struck out 4. So, what's interesting, after the Southern Miss game, in the 5 appearances that followed, he allowed 2 hits and 1 run. That's it. That's it. So when you begin to kind of factor in, what Charlie can be now that he's healthy, I think you look at things and say, you know what, this guy may be able to get some things done. ERA of 1.59. Is that right? Maybe that's not right. Let's double check that number. We'll double check that. Just because of the fact that sometimes these things are kind of difficult to work through here. If we could find it here. Charlie Foster, 1.59 ERA. 1.59 ERA last year. But many of you still remember the Southern Miss game. Like, you forget about the other outings. But I think when you look at that, you begin to realize, hey, this guy's got some real potential. We weren't just making it up last year. And I think this year you're going to see that with Charlie. Again, on the year, 3 hits, 4 runs, only 2 of them earned. And 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, that's got to get better, 17-8. But of course, nearly half of those walks came against Florida State. But batting average against a slender .081. There is something to be excited about there. In addition to that, you got Ryan McPherson. Listen, I'm a Fear fan, right? We can start, everybody calls him Fear. We can go ahead and start the Fear factor, right? Ryan is an elite baseball player. Elite baseball player. And I don't know that a lot of our fans fully appreciate that. A lot of people go back and think, well, he gave up that tank in the Governor's game, and that's all they remember. But let's just kind of look at what he did after that. You remember he went up there and shoved against Ole Miss when they came back to our place. Yeah, pretty impressive. Won that game, 6-5. And it's Fear on the mound late in the ball game. And, has a walk there to make you a little bit interesting, but it's a 10-pitch inning. And again, I can go back even further to Kentucky, We go against Auburn, he didn't do as well, right? So, but after that Auburn game, let's just go to last, say month or so of the season. Against Kentucky, he goes 3 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, 4 Ks, a couple of walks. We win that game 6-5. And we talked about the Ole Miss game. We won that game 6-5. May 17th, you go to Missouri, won that game 12-1. And you know what? It's another inning that's outstanding. Very clean. Tough outing against Texas A&M. 1 2/3 of an inning, 5 hits, 6 runs, only 5 of them earned. We get beat 9-0. That's the SEC tournament game. And then against Northeastern, McPherson absolutely outstanding. 4 innings pitched, scoreless baseball, and 11-2 win. And then we had the outing against Florida State. Things kind of got away from us a little bit. The game was already over. But again, you look down the stretch there, and because of that right-handed spin and the fact that he can work away and he can work that fastball up, he's difficult, man. He's difficult. And again, he was just a freshman. But he threw 39 innings last year. I mean, just kind of let that settle for a second. If we had a true freshman, again, it kind of speaks to his ability and our belief in him. We had some. Cato O'Leary could have pitched a little bit more too, but it wasn't how it worked out, and he ended up transferring. But you go back and look at McPherson, and I wondered, hey, is Fear the guy that's the first guy to the pin, or is he a starter? And I think it's pretty safe to say at this point you expect him to be a starter. But 4-1 record, 4.12 ERA. We mentioned the 39 innings pitched, 28 hits allowed. So less than a hit per, 22 runs, 18 of them earned. But get this, 56 Ks to 15 walks. Yeah, batting average against a $190. So again, you're bringing two young guys back. And again, McPherson had a ton more experience than Foster did. But you're bringing two guys back that had some success as freshmen. And two guys that have a tremendous amount of ability. In addition to that, you're bringing Ben Davis back. Now, Ben is one of these guys that just has some natural sink. I think he's better out of the pen, as we kind of discussed on Monday, but I think maybe people forget the numbers. Makes the jump up from Itawamba, and he wasn't healthy his last year at Itawamba. So, again, he becomes kind of like a Preston Johnson guy, from 21. Where he's that ace reliever that comes out, and then we were having trouble settling the rotation, so Ben moves to the rotation, and that had some varying results. But Ben goes 4-2 last year with a 3.77 ERA, 57 innings pitched. Now, I don't know if you guys have kept up with Mississippi State baseball as closely as I have. Maybe you have. I don't know. But, guys, Ben Davis had the second most innings pitched from last year. The only guy that had more innings thrown last year was Pico. Gives up just under a hit per 52. That's got to get better. We had some games he just couldn't get some people out. He had a couple of games that were just kind of blow up games. Gives up 33 runs, 24 of them earned, but 61 Ks against 24 strikeouts. So that's roughly 3-1. You can live with that. You'd like it to get a little bit better, but the main thing with him is ground balls. Because of that natural sink and the way that Justin Parker kind of tailors the sinker ball for him, that's a big physical guy getting downhill with great extension, and he's throwing the baseball really, really hard. And so when he can spot up that sinker at the knee and a little bit below, people just beat the ball on the ground. And again, you expect a jump from a guy that goes from first year in the SEC to second year in the SEC. And I think that goes really for everybody. I told you guys 2 years ago when we signed Ace Reese, everybody's like, well, we didn't get a difference maker in the portal. I said, just hide and watch on Ace Reese. Hide and watch. The scouts loved him. Absolutely loved him coming out of Houston. And I had people tell me, you're going to look back a year from now and you're going to be like, holy smokes. And you know what? We're looking back, holy smokes, right? And so when I began to kind of think about what that rotation looked like last year, and let's be honest about it, okay? Outside of Pico, and Pico, as much as I love Pico, and I do, I love Pico, I love his family, he was really a Saturday night guy throwing on Friday. And so when all of a sudden I start thinking about adding Thomas Valinkas, and then Fear, and then Foster, I've got a lot more confidence in this rotation. And maybe I've got as much confidence, if maybe not a little more, than the rotation of 2024, where all three of those guys got drafted. Nate Dome, Cal Steven, and Gerangelo, who's now a member of the St. Louis Cardinals organization. And MLB released today he is currently the number 4 prospect in the Cardinals organization. But let's be honest, you look back at last year, and for the most part, we worked it with Pico, and then sometimes Ben, Carson Ligon a little bit, Sierra a little bit. Sierra had 10 starts last year. We kind of piecemealed that thing together. I think this year you may be in a scenario where, provided everybody stays healthy, you ought to be able to run a regular rotation out there, weekend after weekend. Provided everybody stays healthy, and it's one of those things too. At some point, everybody gets a little tightness. It doesn't mean it's anything serious, but again, if we had Sierra back, you'd feel even better about things, right? Because down the stretch, Evan was really, really good. But I think it's one of those scenarios now where you look at this and you say, you know what, hey, Mississippi State's got some depth. We hadn't even talked about the guys we brought in. I've kind of mentioned a couple, but we haven't even focused on that. And that's really not the focus of this segment, is we're talking about what we have returning. Got to rebuild the rotation, but I believe you've done that. With O'Connor bringing his big gun in, and Valinkas, guy who was a weekend guy last year, tied for innings pitched, did some good things for them. But also, too, McPherson is about as fearless as anybody in the SEC. And I mean that in the right way. Ryan McPherson is not scared. Ryan McPherson is a guy that is not scared to get hit, and a guy that's not scared to compete. There are a lot of players, even at this level, that are scared to compete. And you say, Steve, I just don't believe it. It's true. It's true. And we've seen it at times within our own program. There are some guys that are scared to compete. I think we have a much lower percentage of those guys on this roster. Yeah, there's a few guys out there that maybe need to get their nose bloodied a little bit, right? Kind of go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and understand that sometimes you're going to take a punch as well as you throw one. But I think the core group coming back, not just from a statistical standpoint, but from a leading standpoint, because these guys have done it in the SEC. Again, you got your 5 top hitters back from last year. Okay, if you've been around Garrick Fry, he'll make you want to grab a helmet and stand on deck. I mean, this is a guy that wants to win. And he'll play wherever we want him to play. If we needed him to pitch, I think he'd go warm up in the bullpen. He's that kind of guy. Those are the glue guys that you win with. It's not just guys that hold down their spot. It's guys that are willing to do anything for the betterment of the team. And there have been some times in recent years that hadn't always been the thing. Not everybody has Bryce Chance's mentality. Bryce is a Mississippi State guy first. He's not a Bryce guy. He's not a Bryce guy. Bryce understands that the logo is bigger than him, and he's privileged to wear it. That's one of the reasons that I asked him that question on Monday. I said, we know what D1 baseball thinks, Baseball America, whatever, but you've been here longer than anybody. And that's one of the reasons I asked him. It's out of respect, man. You have to have some Bryce Chances in your clubhouse. You have to have guys that maybe aren't superstars on the field. They go out there and get their job done. But you got to have guys that understand the significance of wearing the M over S. A guy that's grown up coming to games here. A guy that can tell those guys that come in, it's like, hey, you don't know what it's going to be like that first spring Saturday. You show up here and there's people lined up from here to the backside of Humphrey Coliseum waiting to get in and rush the berms. You've never experienced anything quite like that. That's where I think, in addition to what Bryce can do for us offensively and defensively, it's just mentally help prepare our players. And now it's not just Bryce, right? You got Noah and Ace, guys that have been around now for a year, the guys that understand what it means to play at Duty Noble Field, in one of these high sky Saturdays where you guys pack it in at 15,000, right? It's so important to understand. Understand the expectations of the program, but the demands on game day, to understand when you go out there and you take the field, it's a super regional type atmosphere during SEC weekends. And I think that's one of the reasons we have been a really good postseason team more times than not. And we got to get some postseason baseball back at Duty Noble Field. I mean, again, we hadn't hosted a regional since 21. We went through a stretch there. We thought we had it all figured out, right? Didn't quite work out for us. We won an AFL championship, and somebody said, "Hey, what did we do here?" We won an AFL championship, so we've proven we can do it. Now it's time for us to prove we can do it again. Our time fire close with Blair Player of the Day. Blair Chandler is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. 25 years of experience at his back. 601-500-2344. That's his phone number, 601-500-2344. That number gets you directly to Blair. Not a receptionist, not a call center. That's directly to him. That's his personal cell number. He gave me permission to share it with you. Save it in your phone as Mortgage Guy. You may forget the name. You'll always remember the need. So whether you're looking for your first home, your next home, your retirement home, or perhaps that game day condo, which may be more affordable than you think, Blair's the only name to know. Rides a wave of Bulldog emotion just like you and I do. Season ticket holder in multiple sports. It's a place here in town. Recently married again. Wish Blair and his lovely bride the best, right? And maybe you've had a relationship change or a pending relationship change, and you've got to begin to kind of think about the next steps in life. Let him pick up some of the heavy weight for you. Yeah, don't overthink it. Let him handle some things for you where you don't have to feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. That's Blair Chandler at closeofblair.com. Okay. Close of Blair play today is Ace Reese. And part of that is because of the fact that Ace, again, named an All-American. We've got a pretty decorated history when it comes to All-American players. But as our friend Doug Kyle pointed out, too, he's like the first All-American since Phil Steele to play third base. Pete Young was an All-SEC guy. And Ace, again, last year, had 9 errors. Some of that I thought scoring was a little bit iffy, but a lot of that too is just because he had a bad foot. He couldn't always push to the line. You're going to see a better version of Ace this year, and Brian O'Connor kind of confirmed that defensively he has made some real jumps for us, and that's what he feels like his future is, and going to have an opportunity to play that here at Mississippi State. So Ace is our guy, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. I told you so when we signed him, that he was going to be great. But provided Ace can stay healthy this year, we expect a huge year out of him. I think he is a guy that could challenge for SEC Player of the Year honors. Going to have some guys around him. And again, it's going to be interesting to see how teams pitch against him, knowing what's behind him. You had some juice last year, too, with Hunter Hines back there. But Noah Sullivan, Hunter Hines, both of those guys, good dudes. But, when you got to the bottom third of that order, we didn't always have a lot of production. This year, I think we will. And I think people are going to have to make other people beat them, besides Ace. But I don't think you can just pitch around him. At some point, the game will find him, and he will make you pay. So Ace Reese, your Close with Blair Player of the Day. Now time for today's Top 10 list, brought to you by Calido Guitars. That's Calido Guitars.com, right? This is a Mississippi State-owned and operated guitar shop based out of Lake Jackson, Texas. Next time you're in the greater Houston area, you maybe carve out a little time to go check out their showroom. You'll be glad you did. Yeah, these are guitar players selling guitars. This isn't just like they just hired some random clowns off the street and said, hey, here's what we do. Now, these are guys that have a passion for guitar playing. It's one of the reasons that I partnered with them. I love playing, too. I'm not as good as I want to be, but I love playing. And they are the Guitar Players Guitar Shop. So the guitar player in your life is going to be coming up on Valentine's Day, too, in about 11 days. Maybe you're not quite ready to make the big purchase and upgrade the guitar, but you can find some accessories. You can get gig bags and cases and strings, everything you need to be a better guitar player. And there's nothing that makes us happier than to have the people we love kind of support our passions. Yeah, and so there are other people that are thinking about picking up a guitar and don't want to break the bank. Well, you can get a great starter guitar at Calido Guitars. And as you begin to mature as a player, because the better you play, the better instruments you want. It's true. I found that to be the case. The better guitars just have a better sound. They feel better in your hands, and they're just cleaner, right? It's just a cleaner sound because you get what you pay for, right? But you don't want to make a huge investment when you're first starting out, and that's where Calido Guitars can help you. They've got a guitar at every price point and every skill level. They're going to give you some incentive to do business with them. Promo code BSR. You know it well. That gets you a 10% discount off their already low price. That gets you no sales tax unless you live in the great state of Texas. That gets you no shipping. And they're going to make a 5% donation to the Bulldog Excellence Fund based on your purchase price. Be sure and check them out today and peruse all the fine selections at CalidoGuitars.com. Okay, we had a bit of a request. Roy Samonti, the keeper of the list, he's already got this list together. We did our Grammys list, and so he kind of came back and said, hey, Elsa, his daughter, who is, I guess in some respects, kind of my niece, and I'm going to assume that we have these in ascending order, but she loves Olivia Dean. And I'm not quite as familiar. So I listened to a little bit, and I can see the appeal. And so Olivia Dean, obviously Grammy-nominated artist, has begun to build a big following. And I think that you will enjoy this. So again, I don't know all these songs as well as I know our rock genre stuff. So we're going to err on Elsa's level of expertise. So Elsa, this is your list, and thanks for your contribution to the Boneyard, courtesy of your dad. According to Elsa, the number 10 track is The Hardest Part. The title kind of gives it away. right? It does. But be sure and check it out. At some point, we all deal with the Lover's Lament. Dive comes in at number 9. That's off the same album. Number 8, It Isn't Perfect, but it might be from, that's from the Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy, my original motion picture soundtrack. It isn't perfect, but it might be. Maybe. My attitude about that has always been, if I got to talk myself into it, it's probably not right? And there's been some relationships of convenience over the years, right? And that's one of the things, too, you learn as you mature. There's a difference between being lonely and being alone, and you can't confuse the two. There's a lot of joy and power in being alone. Like, I enjoy being alone a lot. I'm a very social person, so when I, kind of retreat home, I enjoy being alone. I don't need somebody else to, entertain me or to make me feel like that I matter. But there have been times in my life I've been lonely. When Dane was out in New Mexico, I was lonely a lot. And again, there is a difference, and you learn that as you go. Number 7 on our list, A Couple Minutes. And this is one I'm not quite as familiar with. But again, she's had several hits off this latest album. And I think if you're a person that kind of digs that R&B soulful sound, this one maybe one for you. Number 6 on our list, I've Seen It. Number 5 is Let Alone the One You Love. So the thing that I've learned about that too, kind of some relationship advice here. The more you hold on, right, the more that you kind of put a stranglehold on everything, theoretically and figuratively, not literally, the harder some of those people fight to kind of get out of place. And that was one of those things when I was young, I just wanted to hold everybody and everything in place. But doesn't it feel better when people actually choose you, right, and continue to choose you? Because sometimes they make the choice and you kind of get down the relationship path, and maybe you don't fall out of love, but maybe you don't have quite the same appeal. And I think the key to staying in love is falling in love all over again. You've heard that before. That's not a phrase that I've coined here. But the thing that I've learned is just to let go. Just let go. Give people freedom to be themselves, and if they still choose you, then great. If they don't choose you, go find the one that does. Number 4 on our list, So Easy to Fall in Love. I don't know if it's true. I have been infatuated many times in my life. I've only been in love a few times. And some of that is, there are grades to that too, to be honest with you. I've had some relationships where other people gave me more than I gave them. And there have been other times where I've really been more into somebody than they've been into me. We talk about those relationships of convenience. This whole friends with benefits thing is not new. It's just you guys have a label for it, right? That's not something you created. These high body counts are. But all that understood, let's not confuse lust with love. Number 3, Baby Steps. And this is one that maybe you know, right? This is one that's been out there a little bit on social media. You can see it sometimes as a soundtrack for reels. I'm surprised it's not number 1, to be honest with you. But this is Elsa's list. We're going to respect her expertise. Number 2, Nice to Each Other. Like this one too. I think this is one too. And again, I thank Elsa for her contributions because I would not have known where to start on this list. But I do agree this is one of the better songs on the list. And I think the vocal performance on this is among the best of the 10. But number 1, and also we don't need to be thinking in these terms, but her number 1 is Man I Need. That may be a wonderful song, but you are too young to be thinking in those terms. Okay, let's just go ahead and get that established. On behalf of Roy and Missy, I'm telling you, we don't want you to get really seriously dating until after you have your master's degree, right? You can have some friends and maybe some concert buddies and things, but no hand-holding, none of that kind of stuff. Once you get your master's degree, then it's a different deal. That's when you can start getting serious, right? I kid, right? I kid. And I love Elsa. I feel like she's one of ours. We don't get to see them enough, to be honest with you. Dan and I love Roy and Missy. And we look forward to the day when they retire and move to Starkville so we can see them more regularly. It's one of those things, too. Roy and I get along so well. Dana and Missy get along so well. And as couples, like, we're really fun together, right? It's just one of those things. And, like, we feel like Elsa and really the whole clan is kind of an extension of our family. We just don't get to see them enough. Now, Roy and I are going to take a guys' trip later this year. That's right. I may have told you. I don't know if I haven't. Breaking news. Like, we're going to see Iron Maiden. We're going to see Iron Maiden, Megadeth, and Anthrax. We're going to San Antonio, if memory serves me correct. But, yeah, we're going in September, and it won't interfere with the Mississippi State football game. We're going midweek, and we're going to have a great time. So, we're making some plans. But hopefully Roy and Missy will move to Starkville and spend their golden years with us. And you never know. Once they move here, we may just have a separate mic, and we just may let Roy be part of the show. He'll need something to do. We don't want him to have, like, Bear Bryant syndrome, like all of a sudden he retires and doesn't know what to do with himself. Maybe Roy can sit here and we can debate on the show. Who knows, right? You never know where we're going to go. And Roy may just kind of sit in every now and again. We'll just see how things go. I'm open to whatever. But listen, I appreciate Roy's contributions to the show, and I appreciate Elsa, you putting this together for us. Yes, it was your dad's idea, but he said, you know what, she loves Olivia Dean. Maybe there's some people in the audience that love her too, or maybe would love her. So that's part of what we do here, is not just to remind you of great music, but to kind of point it out for you and maybe share some things that you guys would enjoy. So just getting a text from Melanie Moody says, Three Dog Night lost another member. Man, you hate to see that. So I don't know. I think we've done a Three Dog Night list, I think. Let me double check here. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so Three Dog Night lost another member. Former member Chuck Negron has passed. So Melanie, thanks for the heads up there. We'll see how things kind of progress. But nevertheless, it's always sad to lose a legend. But it's one of those things, too. It's like the older I get, it's like it's happening more regularly, obviously, because I'm getting older, right? And I understand that I have less life in front of me than behind me. And it's amazing to me that so many of these artists are still alive, considering the lifestyles that they've led. But the reality of that is that at some point it happens to all of us. And so love the ones that you love unabashedly. And that's one of the things I was kind of contemplating on this earlier. Somebody had sent me an email, and I get things a lot, especially people that are dealing with addicts. And the thing that is important to me, probably more so, people ask me, like, what's your greatest fear? And I don't fear much, to be honest with you. My greatest fear is that I die and the people that I love don't truly know how much I love them. That's the biggest fear to me. Not a fear of failure, not a scenario where, I don't know who I am. I just kind of fear the fact that maybe the people I love won't fully know what they meant to me. So I do my best to show them as often as I can. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out and let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy on X at Dawgmatic67. That's DAWGMATIC 67. And you can find our great list on Spotify on that same handle. Find me on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. I got a message from Miss Kathy Brown today. And, baseball season starts next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. It's time for you to outfit your family in the latest in Mississippi State gear. Brand new Adidas jerseys and caps, no Rivals hats, some branded Bills hats, Kanga coolers, right? For those of you that enjoy the left field lounge or perhaps the berm, you can bring in a cooler. You can get a brand new Kanga cooler from Campus Bookmart. This weekend, as we mentioned, going to have the dog day where you can get autographs. You can stop by Campus Bookmart on your way to campus and pick up some autographable baseballs. How about that? Brand new M/S merchandise, new Badger, Horn Legend, Cutter Buck, everything you need to get ready for baseball season. Listen, I know you've got your lucky hat, right? I understand that. But some of you have some hats. It's time to upgrade, right? And with Valentine's Day coming up, Mom, that brand new M/S fashionable cap may be the gift that makes your significant other happy, right? We all want to be in love. We do. and show people you love by getting them new Mississippi State merch. They'll open it. They'll be thrilled. You can't go wrong with Mississippi State merch when it's a gift buying opportunity. Now, stop by and see them when you're on the way to campus. Right there on the left-hand side of campus. You go down 182 and you take that turn at the Trooper Station. It's there on your left. If you can't make it to town, or perhaps game day is a difficult shopping day for you, visit them on the World Wide Web, and you can rep the Bulldog brand wherever you live, wherever you go. Whether you make it to Duty Noble Field or not, we appreciate your support. Visit them at campusbookmart.net, and by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. All right. Ladies will be taking on South Carolina, our old nemesis, right? So we'll get ready to play them on Thursday. So this is your official preview of that game. We don't have a midweek game for the men, so we'll spend a little time breaking the South Carolina game down. I never know what to expect. I know South Carolina's going to be great. Dawn Staley, one of the best coaches in all of women's college basketball. And a lot of our people don't like her. And I think in many respects, a competitor like Dawn Staley takes that as a compliment. You don't like her because she wins, right? People are like, the antics. I remember we had a game, and Chloe Bibby went down with an injury. The first person on the court was Dawn Staley. She didn't hesitate. She ran to go see about our player. And I tend to think that's more of who she is than who perhaps she's portrayed to be by, people that are just kind of haters of the Gamecocks. But nevertheless, very formidable opponent, extremely well coached. They recruit exceptionally well. But it's been a great year for South Carolina. They're right in the mix again to win the SEC championship and, of course, proceed on to the Final Four, and we'll see what happens. They opened up regular season with a 40-point win over Grand Canyon. They destroy Bowling Green, 114-47, about what you'd expect. They win the rivalry game at home against Clemson, 65-37. Top 10 matchup early in the year out in L.A. They take down number 8 USC. You remember the brouhaha we had with them last year. But the Gamecocks win that one by 17, 69-52. They blast Winthrop by 50. Queens, they get them 121-49. Woof. Duke, in the Players Era Championship Tournament, they take care of Duke 83-66. They lose a barn burner of a game out there in Vegas to Texas, 66-64. It's a non-conference game, but against a conference foe. Big Schaefer gets the better of Dawn Staley by 2 points in that one. They get Louisville as a rebound game on the road at Louisville, Kentucky. They win that one by 2. That was another top 25 matchup. They get NC Central 106-42. 40-point win over Penn State. 103-44 at South Florida in Tampa. Ugh. They get Florida Gulf Coast 105-43. I mean, you see it. I mean, they're just out-athleting teams. And that's the thing about, we talk about college athletics, how there's so much parity. There's really not in women's basketball. Like there's the haves and the have-nots. There's not a greater disparity in all of college sports than there is in women's basketball. 96-55 winners over Providence. And you get into SEC play. Alabama now a top 25 team. They weren't then. And South Carolina gets them by 26. The Gamecocks go to Florida. They win that one by 11. A little bit closer, I think, than people anticipated. They go to Arkansas, win that one 93-58. They blow out Georgia in the Weeback Pat game, 65-43. They get a little revenge against Texas at home against South Carolina. Memorial was packed to the gills for that one. Gamecocks get that one by 3. That counts in the SEC standings. They get a breather here. They play Coppin State in Baltimore to win 90-48. They play at Oklahoma. That game goes to overtime. They lose it by 12. Yeah, Oklahoma, obviously a good team this year. That's a big win. That's a big win to get South Carolina. That should help Oklahoma later in the seeding. Barn burner of a game against number 5 Vanderbilt. And, man, that game went the way of the Gamecocks in a major way, 103-74. They go to Auburn, win by 30. They get Texas A&M by 15 down in College Station. And now they take on the Bulldogs. That's going to be a 6:30 tip Eastern time, so 5:30 our time. Gamecocks 22-2 overall, 8-1 in SEC play. They've won 3 in a row. They are undefeated at home. Of course, they lose that one game to Texas on a neutral floor and lose to Oklahoma in a true road game. So, again, it's just the same song, different verse for South Carolina. And kind of is what it is. And I know many of our people kind of, are haters about it because we used to contend with them every year. And they have maintained. We have not. Not to say we've done poorly, but we're not on that level anymore. Gamecocks averaging 88 points a game, giving up right at 56, outscoring teams by about 32 per contest, shooting 51%. That's not just paint basketball. They shoot around 38% from the three-point line, but it's not a huge part of their offense. They make about 6 per game. They give up about 6 per game. And they're defending really well, too. They really are. They're defending well. 33% is the made field goal percentage for their opponents. Shooting just 27% from beyond the arc are the Gamecock opponents. Rebounding has been a strength. They're out-rebounding teams by about 11 a game, pulling down just over 43 boards, allowing just over 32. Handing out 18.2 assists a game. Have nearly doubled up their opponents in that respect. Team basketball. And it's not just a product of a weak schedule. They played some decent teams in a non-conference. As you guys know, they went across the country to play USC for sure. Turnovers, not really a problem. They force 19. They only turn it over 13 times or so. Steals have been a big part of things too. Again, nearly doubling up their opponents here. They're getting about 10 a game. Their opponents just 5. Just over 5. About 6.5 blocks a game and just about 3 for the opponents. Getting deeper inside the numbers, we'll look at some individual numbers here. Joyce Edwards leads the team with 20.2 points a game, and that's a fairly significant statistic when you consider the level of basketball that South Carolina plays. She also pulls down 130 rebounds, which is actually second on the team. 29 blocks, 46 steals. She will turn it over just a little bit. Tanaya Latson, 15.4 points per game. Tessa Johnson, 13.6. And then, you knew this was coming, Medina Okot, 13.4 points a game, averaging 10 rebounds a game, has pulled down a whopping 229. She has 34 blocks, 35 steals. She will turn it over a little bit, too. That was kind of the thing here. But you knew that, right? It's a former Bulldog player. You hated to see her leave. And you can only begin to imagine where we'd be this year if we had her. Well, we don't. She's at South Carolina doing a really good job. She started 20 of 23 games. Raven Johnson, 10.1 points a game. So 5 starters, all averaging double figures. Yeah. Significant, right? There is little depth on this team. Of course, a lot of these young ladies are playing for the future, kind of getting their feet wet, learning to be a part of the rotation, producing some depth. But, I guess they go about 9 deep. Even in SEC play, they will play some players just a few minutes to give a bit of a breather to the starters. But out-rebounding teams significantly here, about 250 more rebounds on the season. And you've got 3 players with 90-plus rebound. You tend to win a lot of games. It's amazing. You look at statistics and how they accurately reflect the overall record of a team. It's no surprise. The numbers all mean the same things, and that's more wins for the Gamecocks. So we'll do what we can, obviously. But, we've gone up there sometimes and we played well, and other times not so much. But that's kind of where we are. And, again, that's Thursday evening at 5:30. And, of course, this weekend, and we'll talk more about weekend action on the Friday show, your Mississippi State men are back in action 11 a.m. against Arkansas at Humphrey Coliseum. And, again, once that game concludes, then we'll open the gates for Duty Noble Field. So understand that. And part of that, too, is because we want you to support men's basketball. It's not that we're just trying to be, gatekeepers, pardon the pun, but we don't want people to just start leaking out over to Duty Noble Field and say, hey, let's go on over there and get started. We want you to support men's basketball. So once the game goes final, the gates will open. So for those of you that have no interest in the game, or maybe just a passive interest in the game, maybe you couldn't get a ticket or you don't plan to go, you will kind of be at the mercy of that. So they will wait and open those gates then. So please turn out and support your Mississippi State men's basketball team. It's a great opportunity. You'd get some brunch basketball, then head over to Duty Noble. You kind of get a de facto doubleheader in that respect. The women, of course, after the game against South Carolina, will have the opportunity, of course, to play some more basketball. And we're running out of games to make statements, as you guys are well aware. We're running out of those opportunities to make statements. There will be no weekend game this weekend for Mississippi State. We return to action a week from Thursday at home against Georgia. That'll be a 6:30 tip. And a game we absolutely have to have. And then, of course, you go to Fayetteville. That's another game you got to have. And then you got Florida. So you feel like those three, we got to get those three. We have to get those three. Two of those three at home. Arkansas hasn't been great. And you close it out, obviously, with the road trip to Texas. Then you're going to go to A&M. And then you're home against LSU. So if we have any chance of making this tournament, we have got to win those three games out. Of course, you beat South Carolina, Texas, or LSU. It's just a huge bonus. Just not expecting that. But, again, running out of opportunities here. We had a chance to finish right at 500. Now you start thinking about, can we get to 7-9? Maybe. That would include that road trip at College Station unless you pull a big upset somewhere. But again, you're running out of opportunities, and you need to try to find a way to get to 20 wins to give yourself a real chance to get to the NCAA tournament. Again, at this point on the men's side, I'm just not expecting it. I just want to take it a day at a time. That loss to Missouri, in many respects, just kind of made me feel like, this team is just not going to figure it out. We talked about it weeks ago now. This team has some fatal flaws. We have not been able to overcome them. We do not defend at a high level, and we have struggled to find a consistent third scorer. Basically, if Hub is not on, we're in trouble. Sometimes Epps has been able to bail us out a little bit, but outside of that, we've had nothing. We cannot find a consistent post threat. And that's one of those things you look at and say, man, we went and spent all this money in the portal trying to find a way to get a post defender that can also be, even if it's just a rebound guy. It ain't got to be like the old Charles Rhodes days where you have these, high post, low post, entry level passes. We just don't have a true offensive threat in the post. It just hadn't worked out that way. But one thing I've learned about Sam Purcell on the women's side is they always tend to win a game maybe you're not expecting. They've won a couple this year that maybe we weren't expecting. So I can't rule that out. But on the men's side, it's kind of like we know who we are at this point. We know who we are. We just got to take it a game at a time and then kind of see what happens. And obviously, to keep any hope of making the NCAA tournament and really any chance for the postseason, you really need to find a way to get that win against Arkansas. I can't say it any plainer than that. It's been a disappointing year. It really has been. I think beginning of this year, if I had told you that we would be sitting right here at 500 as we opened play in February, you wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have believed it. I really thought we were going to be better than this. I really, really did. And again, I go back to some people that really, really followed Mississippi State men's basketball in the game at large very, very closely. It's their favorite sport. And a lot of people were convinced this was going to be our most talented team. And I think now that we, a few months into the season, I think we all agree that's probably just not the case. We just clearly have some flaws within this team that not even great coaching can overcome. I have not in any way lost faith in Chris Jans. And I see some people out there, and there's some of these walk-on media types. Is there a chance of a change? No, there's no chance of a change. Unless somehow Chris Jans would leave on his own volition. There is no way that we fire Chris Jans. Zero chance that happens. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. We are absolutely not going to fire Chris Jans. Nor should we. Right? I mean, back 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments, and if anybody has earned a mulligan on this campus the last decade, it's him. And you know what? Again, we got to make some changes within our operations so we get better portal evaluations, but the reality of it is we have a great coach. We're just having a bad year. And we've got to eliminate that part of our fan base that every time we get some adversity, our answer to everything is fire somebody. We just can't afford to do that. I don't mean financially. I'm just talking about the toll that it takes on a program. Now, basketball is one of those sports, too. One great class can change the trajectory of a season or two, but you can't out-recruit bad tradition. You can't out-recruit bad fan support. And that's one of the things we've got to do is we got to get out and support. So we encourage you to come out this Saturday and be a part of things. Maybe as the opener before the baseball scrimmage, but the reality of it is, as much as I love baseball, nothing's more important than an actual game. We shouldn't skip the real game to go to a scrimmage game. No matter how much we're eager for baseball season to begin, these young men need your support. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle when you're bringing a large group to town, and you should. You could rent out the whole place and stay by yourself, but where's the fun in that? I don't know, maybe you just want to be alone, right? Be alone in a big house like that wouldn't be quite as much fun as having the people you love over. I encourage you to do it. We've stayed there. I can tell you from personal experience, it is a fantastic experience. Google the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. When you do, their Facebook page will pop up for you. You can peruse all the amenities available to you and your guests, the full-service kitchen, the wet bar, that great back porch area. What a great place to sit and watch the sunset and maybe have an adult beverage if you're so inclined. And there's a fire pit area too, which is very valuable this time of year. 6 bedrooms, 2 soon to be 3 baths, and plenty of parking. That's one of the things you worry about when you get a large group together. It's where's everybody going to park the car? Well, no worries there. It's the old renovated Country Club Clubhouse out past the Highlands off 182, just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. Now, when you do that Google search, you're going to have some booking options pop up. You can do Airbnb, VRBO. But if you want to save some money, I can help you with that. Book through the Evolve website. Promo code BSR10. That's BSR10, the number 10. That gets you 10% off your stay. How about that? Just by listening to this show, you're saving money at the premium place to stay in the Golden Triangle. And you know what? Maybe it's not a ball game weekend for you. Maybe you're getting a work group together. Maybe you got some business at the university. You need to have everybody under one roof. That's a great option too. I had some friends of mine that did that. They had to spread out around the Golden Triangle, but they had their hub right there at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. They had people working in West Point, people working in Columbus, people working in Starkville, and it was great to have a meeting area, but also some personal areas where you can kind of retreat and get some rest. So be sure and check it out today, the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Okay. Now, high school recruiting is not what it once was. Let's just be honest about that. We see it. Our industry sees it. You guys are more concerned about portal traffic. There's still some interest, obviously, as we get closer to National Signing Day and all that good stuff. It's kind of weird not to have any signees in February, but kind of is what it is. The world is changing around us. So as it stands today, there may be one or two we're unaware of, but as it stands today, there have been 28 players within the state of Mississippi, high school players, that have been recipients of an offer for Mississippi State. I thought I would run these down and kind of give you a few high points, right? So we feel like we've got a pretty good crop of running backs in the state this year. I would suggest there may be 5 that might be of real interest. Now, I don't know how many we take. We took 2 last year, didn't take 1 from the portal. But when you begin to look at that depth chart, you begin to think, okay, if Fluff goes pro next year, maybe we take 2, maybe. But the good thing is I don't think we're going to have to leave the state to fill a lot of our needs. But Christian Alexander out of Roosevelt, that's a school that's been pretty good to us over the years. We got Bernard McKinney there. We got McKinley Scott there going back a while back. And then, of course, Bernard McKinney and, what's his name? Anyway, I forget. Brandon Bryant, safety. So we've had some success there, and it's not a school that maybe produces a lot of Power 4 prospects, but for the most part, it's been a very consistent program in recent years. Christian Alexander, 5'8", 195 pounds, plays bigger than he measures. A guy you should really watch. Now, probably my favorite running back in the class is Tyson Robinson. Out of Brandon, he's locked in an official visit to Mississippi State. I believe it's going to take place June the 19th. He is a national level recruit. Obviously, Brandon High School has been exceptionally good to Mississippi State over the years, so hopefully that trend continues. Michael Stephen is kind of a change of pace back. And to be honest with you, after watching him play this year, I think he's probably a G5 guy. That's my feeling right now. And then, of course, there's Ty Keys. I like Ty Keys a lot, too. Ultra productive, probably my number 2. I like if we ended up with Tyson Robinson, Christian Alexander, or Ty Keys, I would feel great. I'd feel like, you know what, we've addressed our need there. Even if we just take the one back. Can you get 2 within the state? I don't know. We did last year, and I think that maybe works against you a little bit this year because you know what J.J. Hill and Cooper Crosby can do. Now, Cooper's a guy, obviously, that we offered as a senior. We were committed to J.J. J.J. was committed to us. And we went to him and said, hey, we're going to have to make some adjustments here. We got some guys that really aren't making it happen. We got to move on from them. Got to process some guys out. JJ was all about letting Cooper be a part of the class. I think they actually complement each other really well. And, of course, Cooper Crosby actually higher rated than JJ. And I think both of those guys still undervalued. The JJ Hill thing just drives me crazy. But again, I think it's a good year for us to get running backs. Now, so far, we've just offered a couple receivers, true receivers. Deshaun Dillon at Northwest Rankin. Now, he's a guy, I don't know how much he loves football. Just kind of getting to know him. He is also a basketball guy, and I understand he has some interest on the basketball side of things. That's something to watch. I really like his game, though, and I think if he fully committed to football, he is a guy that could be a Southeastern Conference player. And then there's Sheldon Isaac, a wide receiver out of Macomb High School. Yes, that's the Robert Isaac family. Yeah. Who played at Mississippi State under Jackie Sherrill. And Sheldon also a half-brother of San Francisco McGee, who's currently at Mississippi State. So you kind of like where we sit there. On the offensive line, there's, 8 guys maybe within the state that I think are very interesting. Let's start with Caden Moss out of JA. I don't know what kind of opportunity state has with him. He is the highest rated offensive line prospect in the state this year. I have told he's likely going out of state. 6'5", 311 pounds. You watch film of him, you'll be impressed. LaMarcus Jones out of Callaway. It's been a little while since Callaway's had somebody. They had a nice run on offensive linemen for a while. Things have changed a little bit. LaMarcus initially committed to Ole Miss just right out of the gate and then backed off of that just because of the fact he just hadn't given himself a chance to be recruited, wanted to make sure he had something, end up getting some more offers. I think State's in a decent spot there. I won't say good spot, but I think there is a chance the State gets him. DJ Johnson out of Oak Grove, I've been told that he is likely going to either go to Ole Miss or go out of state. He's 6'7", 330. I don't like him quite as much as Caden Moss or LaMarcus Jones, but I do like him. I do think that he is a guy that can make some plays. One of the guys that I really like that plays left tackle in high school, I suspect he's going to be a guard on the next level, is Antonio Berry at Tupelo High School. I've had a chance to get to know him a little bit. I've watched him play in person a couple times. 6'5", 280. I don't know that he has the footwork to be a tackle. Maybe could be a right tackle, but I think he could be a heck of a guard. And of course, Caleb Unger already committed to Mississippi State. Really good guard there at MRA. But he's about 6'2", 6'3". I think ultimately he's going to prove to be a center, and that's what we're recruiting him as. But he's also an extremely intelligent guy, so he ought to be a guy that can handle the checks. Now, Gage Luther out of Pontotoc plays tackle, profiles more as a guard. He's already like 6'6", 300 pounds. He's a guy that grew up in a Mississippi State family. It's been his dream to play at Mississippi State. I think that's one that probably works out. Maybe not initially, maybe a little bit down the road. We'll see. But that's a name that we're watching. Right? I've already crystal balled him to State. I think it's just a matter of Jeff Lebby saying, okay, Gage, let's go. I mean, like if Lebby called Gage tomorrow and said, I want you to be a Bulldog, I think Gage would say yes, right? Cordero McDaniel out of Brookhaven, massive human being, probably needs to get in the weight room for a year and a half, maybe 2. I like him also as a guard, and he's a mauler, right? I love what I've seen from him in run blocking. I think that he is a guy that maybe needs to refine the pass pro a little bit, but he is a guy that can be a bit of a road grader. On the edges, One guy, Derwin Fields, has already got almost 24 offers, and he has been a non-commodity for a while. And, Brookhaven, of course, really, really good performance in the state title game. And Derwin Fields, a big part of that team last year. He is going to be a guy that will probably go through the process and kind of travel some and get to know his options. And so maybe late June before we have a decision. Used to be December, January. Process changed a lot, but he is obviously a prospect of interest. Now, Jaywin Smith is an interesting case study, too. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Micah Nickerson, not just because of the build and not just because of the athleticism and the length, but because he was kind of tucked away a little bit. State offered him last weekend, and then Ole Miss the next day. Well, today, UNLV and Dan Mullins offered him. So he's gone from no offers to 3 offers in about 4 days. He is a guy that we do think ultimately will stay in state. I like where state sits with him, but the process is really just kind of bubbling up for him. Ben Jarvis Shoemaker out of Choctaw County. I absolutely love his game. Absolutely love it. I think he has the potential to be an NFL player. I think he is a guy that, of course, not too far from here. He is a priority target for Mississippi State. Sam Lejeune from Poplarville. State has recruited him pretty good, but things have kind of picked up here as of late. I interviewed him last night, a very candid interview. Not a big fan of Ole Miss. He likes Mississippi State. He didn't always like Mississippi State. He's not really a country guy, but LSU and Maryland both offer him today. Because of geography, family connections, I think LSU is probably the team to beat there. Devin Robertson, defensive lineman's already committed to Oklahoma, and we were told right out of the gate he was looking to go out of state, and ultimately he did. Mitchell Turner, very intriguing guy at Louisville. Saw him play in person a couple times too. Really like his build, 6'3", 275. I think he could carry almost 300 pounds and not lose anything when it comes to athleticism. Now, we've had a lot of players from Louisville come to Mississippi State the last 20 years, and not a lot of those guys have really panned out and been difference makers. You can't hold that against this kid, right? I know a lot of our fans are like, oh, every time we get those guys, every situation is different. But Louisville is a winning program. They play a really good brand of football down there. I think if you get him, you feel pretty good about it. If you could find a way to get 3 of those guys, if you can get Ben Jarvis, Sam Lejeune, and Mitchell Turner, you feel great. Great. Not a lot of linebackers in the class. Devontae Brewer from Tupelo, though, admits on the record that he grew up a Mississippi State fan. Of course, J.J. Hill is here now. I expect Ole Miss to be a factor with him, but I like where State sits with him. He and his entire family made the trip to Starkville last weekend for Junior Day. You can read the recap of that event over at genespage.com. Frederick Ford, not a lot out there about him. I absolutely love him. Absolutely love this guy. Out of Greenwood, Mississippi. It's kind of been a Mississippi State stronghold for years. We've gotten some really good players out of Greenwood. If you watch Frederick Ford on film, you're going to like what you see. Now, he doesn't have a ton of offers yet, but this is one of those guys, one of those true Delta prospects that may be in an under-recruited area. But I think it kind of helps the fact that we're about an hour or so away, and we've done a good job historically in that area. I like where State sits with him. I don't get the sense that State is pushing him right now, but we'll see what happens. Trey Collins, saw him play against Canton, really, really like him. He's always around the football. He had committed to Ole Miss early on when Lane Kiffin left for LSU. He promptly decommitted. He is a true bona fide SEC prospect. His ranking is not commensurate with his ability. That'll change over time. But really like him. And obviously Mississippi State is on him and was trying to get him to flip some time ago. Jawan Williams out of Mendenhall. I haven't had a chance to watch him yet, but I've talked to some people about him that tell me he is probably the best player on that team on either side of the football and maybe one of the better players to come out of Simpson County in a while. So I look forward to watching him, and we'll have a little more informed information about him in the weeks ahead. As I mentioned, Ty Keys, I see him as a running back. He's listed as an athlete. I don't think that's correct. I think he is absolutely a running back. I think he's also a guy that can help you a little bit in kick return. Javarius Griffin Jr., another intriguing prospect, listed as an athlete because he can play wide receiver or defensive back. I like him at wide receiver. I like him with the ball in his hands. I think he can make some plays after the catch. He's almost 6 foot, still growing, but he is a guy, early on, a lot of people thought, well, he'll just go to Ole Miss. I don't think it's near that cut and dry. Sean Palm out of Scott Central, I haven't watched him yet, so I'll give you some more information on him a little bit later. Chase Kraft, though, out of Heidelberg, I absolutely love him. He reminds me a lot of Jamion Lewis. Remember Chubby, right? Played on those Dan Mullen teams out of Towertown. That's who he reminds me of. And Daryl Carter, of course, the coach there, they play a really good brand of football at Heidelberg. The Oilers will be back next year in the mix. I don't think there's any question about that. Chase plays quarterback now on the high school level. I like him as a slot receiver. Some people say maybe corner. He's listed at 6'1". He's not a squat corner. I don't know that maybe he has the length that we're kind of chasing right now. But I think really putting him at corner would be almost like putting Gabe Miles at corner. Remember that? We put Gabe at corner, then ultimately move him back to wide receiver. I think Chase, similar in that regard, where he's a high school quarterback that can play multiple spots, but he's more explosive with the ball in his hands. That makes the most sense to me. And I do like where Mississippi State sits with him. Gunnar Gillentine, of course, former Mississippi State commitment now. We offered him. He committed, recently decommitted. I don't know all the details behind that. Maybe we're not going to scholarship a kicker. I just can't begin to tell you. And there's J.D. Lane, a long snapper from Simpson County Academy. Saw him in camp last year. Really thought he would commit last year. Grandmother was with him. It was a very emotional moment watching Cliff Odom. I wasn't privy to the conversation. I'm just sitting across the way. And just really felt like that was going to be the case. A lot of our specialists have been recruiting him. And so that's where things stand right now. And again, there may be one or two that we haven't confirmed offers with yet. But, State offered about 40 kids in state last year, products of Mississippi high schools. Off to a pretty good start. And, of course, the spring evaluation period is coming up. There'll be some guys that come to prospect camps. So that number will likely grow. And I do get the sense the state is kind of closing in on a quarterback, kind of prioritizing a guy. I don't think it's going to be a scenario where we have to wait exceptionally long for a 2027 quarterback. Let me just kind of, and that's some insider trading there. Let me just tell you, we're going to have a quarterback that we can kind of build around sooner rather than later. Maybe a month from now, maybe. But it's not going to be something that goes into the summer months. You want to get your quarterback committed earlier so you can have him assist in the recruiting process, kind of build him as the cornerstone with which you build a class on. And all that's exceptionally important. So, again, this time of year, now that the portal's over, in between portal and baseball, we go back and we watch film and kind of begin to get an idea of what we're looking at. And, of course, new offers are going out all the time, and a lot of guys you look at and you think, you know what, we got to find a way to get this guy in our class. But I like the big bodies within the state this year on both the offensive and the defensive line. I think we can meet our needs in state for the most part. And again, once we get in spring practice, things will kind of come into focus about what our more immediate needs are, right? And of course, we took a ton of safeties last year. I think you can be somewhat selective there. But you got to find some corners. And so far, most of the corners that we've targeted have been out-of-state guys. And some of that's because you got guys in bigger schools and bigger areas that are playing, corners that kind of specialize a little bit more. We offered some guys over in Alabama and in Louisiana that we obviously feel pretty good about. So we'll see how that goes. And I think, again, Corey Bell has probably earned a mulligan after the good job that he did in the portal. He's been beaten up over the last couple of years on the recruiting aspect of things. But I think maybe we've turned the corner. Darcel McBath, when he first got here, didn't win a lot of recruiting battles either. But once he learned how to sell Mississippi State, things got a lot better. Not just on the recruiting trail, but on the field. And so we'll continue to kind of wait and see and monitor all this. But I think you've got to be pleased with what Corey Bell did in the portal. And now it's got to translate to some high school recruiting too. We got to go out and get some corners. And again, it looks like we're going to have to go get them from out of state. But I just wanted to kind of give you an early start to that. And I think it's important for everybody to kind of understand high school recruiting, again, is not what it once was. But we do have some very talented players within the state of Mississippi. And if I was doing this thing, if it was me, I'd probably go get the best 15 to 16 high school players that I could, and I'd probably go spend the rest in the portal. Now, I'm not the guy out there shopping in the portal, and I understand it can get a little pricey at times, and you want to pay for production rather than potential. But I would go get the best 15 to 16 high school guys I could possibly get, and guys that maybe have connections here, guys that are going to be invested in us. And in-state kids more likely are going to stick unless they just don't pan out, right? And we've seen that happen time and time again. But I know, we talk about the portal stuff all the time, and then you guys are interested in that. And it's just, again, there's a handful of guys from last year's roster from Mississippi State that are still kind of waiting to figure this thing out. I've reached out to these guys and only heard back from a couple of them. And so many of these guys will have to kind of wait the process out and then, make a decision probably in the spring. And, traded some messages with Ferzel Shepherd earlier this week, and ended up sending his number to a few JUCO coaches that I know. He just said he hadn't found anything yet. And, of course, he was a redshirt freshman this year, so he's got 2 years he can go play at junior college. He is a very talented player, and we wish him the best. And that's kind of part of this thing, too. When you've got young people out there that have ability, you want to be able to help them out as best you can. I've got to look myself in the mirror every day, And many of these young guys you look at and you say, you know what, it's just, just because it didn't work out here doesn't mean it couldn't work out somewhere else. And that's an important aspect of this thing, too. I think everybody deserves an opportunity to continue their career, provided that they've flown straight, made their grades, and done what they're supposed to do. Young people sometimes make mistakes. And some of those guys, too, that maybe they didn't come in and work hard. And it's better to kind of find that out now than invest other players. You want to spend your time with them. That's one of the most important aspects of all this. It's just trying to find a way to make it happen and to give them an opportunity to go somewhere else if this doesn't fit. And sometimes it doesn't. It's not anybody's fault. Sometimes things don't work out. It's so difficult to predict future human performance. If you hadn't done so, go to dutynoblebook.com. You can get signed copies of all of my sports titles. I got a message earlier. I won't give you the person's name, but it's one of our people that is dealing with some power loss. And here was the message, from him. And again, I won't reveal the name. I didn't ask for permission. But he goes, "Hey, Steve, I'm on day 10 with no power. I'm catching up on my reading. Finally finished Stark Villains, knocked out Alpha Dogs, and I'm now 4 chapters deep on Dogpile. I plan on getting the dude when I'm finished. Just want to say thanks for getting me through this ice storm." Well, as I messaged him back, I'm so proud that you're reading the books, but I hope that you guys have power and a sense of normalcy sooner rather than later. So if you've got people around you that maybe need to catch up on their reading under better circumstances, we can probably help you with that. And Valentine's Day is coming up too. Be sure and take a swing at that. Again, that's dutynoblebook.com. You can get Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, Dogpile, and The Dude, along with the personal memoir, When the Bottom Falls. I can't recommend that book enough. I poured my heart and soul into that, no doubt about it. So, in addition to that, True West Float Spa, that's the bride's business, running a Valentine's Day special. 2 floats for $99. It's a great deal, absolutely spectacular deal. Our normal first-time float expense is $65. So if 2 people came to float, that's going to cost you $130 right out of the gate. Well, you can get 2 floats for $99. You can't float in the same pod, but you can float at the same time. We have 4 pods. They're 10 foot in circumference. It's not something that you're going to feel claustrophobic about. And if need be, you can leave the doors open to your pod because you're going to be in a private suite all by yourself. But that's a great date night opportunity, but also, too, for a Valentine's Day special. Even if it's not a his and hers deal, maybe you want them both to be hers. Good opportunity. Give her a unique gift for Valentine's Day. We're happy to help you with that. Call Dana at 662-268-7601 for more information. And come join us over at genespage.com. A lot of cool stuff happening. We give you double-digit stories every single day, and we have for over a year. Right? There was a time that we just didn't have a great content plan. That was one of the things that I really committed to about a year ago. I said, you know what? There's no reason we can't do this. And so you just kind of break it down, and it's kind of recovery wisdom, right? The whole one day at a time thing. Like, what can I do today to get to this? You start just stacking up good days, and we don't take any days off. We don't. And when we do take days off, we kind of cover each other, or we pre-write some stories to make sure that you are not information starved. You know, we take a lot of pride in what we do, and we love Mississippi State University. We love all of you. And we've committed ourselves to providing you with the best coverage that this university has ever seen, and we deliver on that every single day. So come be a part of it over at genespage.com, and maybe you can't afford to subscribe right now. We make a lot of free content, right? All the big room stuff is free. If you prefer to watch, you can watch that too. Matter of fact, we uploaded 4 softball videos today, right? 4 from the media day on Monday. We got Coach Ricketts, and we got 3 players. And those are free for you to watch. All your baseball videos, free for you to watch. So we want to be your stop for Mississippi State coverage, whether you're a subscriber or not. And we push all our free content out to socials and out to Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And so you can follow us on X. You can follow us at Facebook. We encourage you to do so. It will show up in your feed. You won't have to just go looking for it. And we don't put anything on Facebook behind a paywall. We don't do that. We only push out the free content. But we certainly hope that you'll subscribe. We work very hard to give you guys the latest, greatest information about Mississippi State sports. Listen, hope that you guys enjoyed the fact that you're going to wake up on Wednesday morning. This show's already going to be available, and I'll be back with you guys on Friday. By that time, we'll know what happened with State and South Carolina on the women's side, and then we can begin to kind of preview our men's basketball game against Arkansas. And you just never know what's going to come up between now and then. There's always something going on, whether if it's in Starkville or in college athletics as a whole. I couldn't sit here and shoot out 90 minutes of content 3 days a week if there wasn't. I don't know if there's ever been a time that we've been busier as a media group. And I'm grateful for that, but it's one of those things too. Sometimes it's difficult to keep up. We do our best to make sure that you're aware of all the changing elements of college athletics and how they impact Mississippi State as a whole. Hope you guys have a great midweek. We'll see you back on Friday, but until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.